Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it might be for whoever's tuning in to wherever you're at. Um, I'm coming to you from La Push out here on the Great Olympic Peninsula. It is March 8th. It's approximately 5:30. So I was thinking about giving a poop story today because I got a handful of those. Working in the woods for 17 years, we've had to do a lot of things to entertain ourselves, and for some reason, poop always came into play. Before I go into that, I kind of want to just give an update on what we've been, or what I've had going on. It seems like Papa's Rowdy Wolfpack's been on the go quite frequently lately. We just went and did the Recovery Coach Academy, which was awesome. It was a great experience. We learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I believe that us going as a group from La Push, the team that was assembled, we left a great impression for Quileute Nation when we had arrived, from the time that we had arrived to when we had left. The Muckleshoot tribes and the people that we came in contact during all of it was really, really great people. Made some really good connections with a few of them, and I hope to carry these friendships on for a lifetime. Besides that, with the fire department, me and myself and a few others went down and took an 8-hour class, and then after the 8-hour class, we took a 35-question test at the end of it to get certified to drive the fire truck. And we all passed. Out of 35 questions, I only missed 3, so that's big for me. That's kind of a confidence boost in the right direction, being out of school for so long, and actually to go to class and sit through the lesson and what have you, and to take a 35-question test and pass, it's awesome. Along with Recovery Coach Academy. I haven't went online and got my certificate printed off yet, which I need to do that here soon, but until then, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing until that time comes to print that certificate off. It's not like it's going anywhere. Besides that, I'm going to take you back to, I think this is how I was initiated, how the poop war started for myself. It must have been, I'm going to take you back to like 2003, 2004. I was lucky enough to break in for one of the biggest outfits here in Western Washington for doggerns, and I was blessed and honored to actually work with some of the best loggers on this Olympic Peninsula. And one of them, Bruce, he is a living legend. He is somebody that I've always looked up to. I got a lot of great memories. I got a lot of stories about this guy that I experienced logging. I didn't get to work with him the full 17 years that I logged, but he is somebody, like I said, that I looked up to and admired. So anyways, 2003, 2004, was working for doggerns. We had a really good crew at this point. Starting out logging, you got to start from the bottom to work your way up. And I had already been out in the rigging. I did pimping, and they decided to throw me on the landing. So I'm going to kind of go into detail, but I kind of drew up a picture. I'm not an artist, but I want to give you guys kind of an idea of what I'm talking about here. So being in the rigging and being part of the rigging crew are the boys down here. And they're the ones that control this sky car. They can slack this drop line down, get it hooked up to the logs that they have the chokers wrapped around. And then they have a yarder bug that keeps in contact with him, that blows whistles so he can understand what the boys down here want. And in this story, I'm this guy up here. No, I don't stand right there, because otherwise I get smashed by the turn. But anyways, so I'm this guy, and my job as a chaser as the yarder engineer brings this carriage up, I gotta slack the logs down into the right spot to where another machine called a processor can grab a hold of those logs and then process them into the lengths that they need them in. So it was summertime. It was hot. We'd been on this job for probably a month and a half, and we were getting 20 loads a day, gaining. Which getting 20 loads a day is this time of year. I mean, even in 2003, 2004 was big. You know, you look back at logging when they logged the big stuff back to what we log today. Anyways, I had to literally, when I would drop these turns down, the rigging crew was messing with me. Like, they would stick sticks into the bells, and when they stick sticks into the bells, it makes it hard to unbell. Like, you can't get no slack. So basically, I was having to jump into the turn with a soft hammer in my hand to beat on these bells to break free from the stick so I could slide them to get the slack to unbell them. Well, about halfway through this day, I mean, they had been doing this to me, off and on this whole job. But that day, about halfway through the day, I jump in there and I beat on one of them, and I break the stick free, and I unbell it. Well, then I happen to roll over, and I look at the other one, and before I touched it, thank God I looked at it. I looked, and there was shit on it. There was poop on this choker. And I thought, oh my gosh, So I ended up, oh, wait, no, that's not how it goes. No, I was getting fed up with the sticks, getting sticks in them. So I had sent the rigging back out to the rigging crew, and I went up and I talked to the yarder engineer, and I told the yarder engineer, I was like, hey man, I'm getting fed up with these guys sticking sticks in the bells. They're making my job harder. And that's when the yarder engineer told me, he's like, Christopher, he's like, haven't you been pooping over there since we had started this job? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. It's like, all right. So I told him, I said, well, when this next turn comes up, I said, give me a minute. And he's like, nope. He's like, don't worry. He's like, you got it. So I had climbed off the yarder. I was eating yogurt at this time. So I took 2 yogurt containers over there to where I'd been pooping and scraped the poop into the yogurt containers, and then ran back over to the yarder just in time for the turn to come in, and I slacked it down. I got in there, unbelled them, picked the chokers up just high enough to where I could grab them, and then slacked the drop line, pulled them out of the way, and I took the 2 yogurt containers full of poop and smeared them up and down those chokers. And had picked the drop line up, picked the chokers up out of the way, and the yarder engineer sent the rigging back out there to him. Well, when the rigging had got to him, they had blown a stop, and that rigging had sat there for a good 5 minutes. 8 minutes maybe tops, and when we were averaging like 3-minute turns, then all of a sudden they blew go ahead, and the turn came in, and I jumped in there, unbelled it, laughing hysterically, because I knew that those boys down there were dealing with my poop all over the next set of chokers that they were setting down there, and I'll play in my own poop all day long, I don't care, but yeah, so anyways, about 3 or 4 turns later, the rigging comes in, I slack the drop line down, and I jump in there with my soft hammer, and I get in there, and before I even touched the choker, I looked in this turd. I don't know how they did it, but it looked like a stick. It was, a good-sized turd. It was about that big around, and I know what boy did it, too. And it was about that big around, it was about that long. And it was laid right in that bell perfect. Like, I don't know how it made it so far from down there all the way up to where I was at. I had luckily didn't touch it. I broke a limb off one of the tops that they had choked and flipped it up, flipped that turd out of the way, and proceeded to do my job, unbelled that turn, shipped it back out to them. Well, at the end of the day, I knew I was kind of dreading the end of the day because I was outnumbered. There was, I want to say 3 or 4 of them down there, and then it was just me up on the landing by myself, So I knew that it was going to go bad, as soon as the boys would get up to the landing. So, anyways, the yard engineer ended up blowing the quitting whistle, and I was gathering stuff up. And as soon as I seen the boys start coming up over the edge of the landing, I just took off on a dead run. I ran all the way up to the crew bus, jumped into the crew bus, ended up locking the door. The boys made it up there. They were rocking the crew bus, and they were telling me to unlock the door. And I was telling them, no, I'm not unlocking the door. And they're like, you got to unlock the door because we all got to go home eventually, which they made a real valid point, you know. Eventually, I did have to unlock that door. And eventually, I did just that. And they roughed me up pretty good. You know, you could just imagine. They had finally got me out of the crew bus because I wasn't about ready to let go of the seat. Eventually, I did. They got me outside the crew bus, and they proceeded to kind of initiate me. You know, they didn't put no poop on me or anything, but they roughed me up pretty good. So that's basically, you know, how the poop war started for myself. You know, I guess I kind of started it to a certain extent, but it was Glenbob that told me. You know, he kind of introduced me into it that way. So with that said, that's, you know, my first poop story, my first poop incident logging. Besides that, I got a handful more that I'll be sharing here off and on. So with that said, do what makes you happy. Don't worry about what other people think or say about you, because in the end, they don't matter. You matter. And with that, I'm out. Y'all take care, and God bless. That's it.